Okay.
So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So today's webinar will be on how to tackle frailty together. We will have two EU-funded projects working on the same topic, but from two different perspectives. So we have today Ines Garcia Sanchez, Deputy Coordinator of Advantage GA, who will explain why frailty is important at the EU level and how 22 member states are jointly working together on a common policy for frailty prevention and management at national and regional levels. Afterwards, we will have Costas and Javier explaining how technology can be used together with traditional methods to better assess frailty and therefore contribute to a proactive, preventive approach to delay the onset of frailty. Time will be dedicated at the end of the presentations for questions from the participants. You have all been muted because only speakers have access to the microphone. You will be invited to write down your questions in the chat box, and they will be addressed at the speakers by me after all the presentations. I also inform you that the webinar will be recorded and uploaded to the website if you wish to listen to it later on. So Ines, I will give you the floor now and make you presenter. Ines?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, you can hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you very much for this invitation. I will try to lead you through some very simple but also important ideas of what we are doing. First, why frailty is important at the European level and why these 22 member states are really addressing this issue. I will speak a bit about what Advantage in Action is, what we are working on, and what are the next steps. Then I will finish with some key messages, and I have also another couple of slides if you want to go further on onto the state of the art, which is according to the profile of the participants, maybe it's also very important for you. So first of all, I would like you to consider the 4 ideas that led our work towards building a European approach to tackle frailty at national level. The first important idea is that frailty is a public health problem and also a societal challenge in Europe that can be prevented and that will be benefiting from an European approach. This is important because, as you know, also member states have the responsibility to address their own health issues and their healthcare systems. So, in principle, there could be no, let's say, common work dealing with health systems. So because it is a public health problem and because this is something that is tackled at European level, is that we were able to start addressing this important issue. The other main idea is that the European Commission supports member states to work at level of the European policy to prevent frailty. We also were invited and in a way pressure sometimes that all the work that we have to do needs to be built on what has already been done and supported by the European Commission, mainly on the APIAHA, so the European
Innovation
Program
Partnership.
of Innovation Partners, exactly, thank you. And also, of course, we have to base our actions and recommendations on scientific evidence. We also have to consider the individualities of the member states. We have their own health systems, organization, and their own circumstances. We also have to fund it on the projects that have already been developed or implemented with European funds, and important documents that were released in 2014, so a number of years now. The Council conclusions and the Social Protection Committee long-term care report, which was the first documents at the European level that acknowledge the importance of frailty and long-term care. So advantage you here having this image, all the different 22 member states that are involved in this action, the partners of the action in dark green. We have 3 years starting in 2017 to develop our project. It is co-financed by the European Commission and the Public Health Program and the different member states, and it's coordinated by Spain. The objectives, I'm not going to go through all of them, but the main idea, you have them there, but the main idea is that we have really to build a common understanding of frailty that can be used by policymakers and other stakeholders at European level to tackle frailty and to prepare a common European framework to screen and diagnose, prevent and assess the management of frailty. Sorry. Target group. We have 3 main target groups. First of all is the policymakers and stakeholders, both from public and private sectors. We have the health and social care professionals, and the third important group is the frail older people, their carers, and those at risk of acquiring frailty. The advantage in action is structured in different work packages. We have 8 work packages. You have them there in the slide. You can go through it. 3 horizontal work packages that are mainly related to coordination, dissemination, and evaluation, and then other that we call the content work packages that address frailty from different perspectives, from individual level, population level, everything that has to do with the healthcare system and the research and expanding knowledge. With this structure, at the end, we have to produce what is called the prevention of frailty approach. That is a concept that we are trying to build up from all this common work and to build a consensus of, at European level, of the convenience that we have really to address frailty in a different way, in an independent way from the long-term conditions and chronic diseases. The implementation process can be divided in 3 main stages and mainly correspond to each of the 3 years of our work. The phase 1 that was in 2017 was mainly about the state of the art, so we have to collect all the information and analyze and discuss all the different evidence that was collected and came out with this state-of-the-art report. In 2018, so the year that we are about to finish, we have been developing and testing the information gathered from the member state survey, and we are drafting the frailty prevention approach that will, on the following year, really will be discussed with the different member states and come out with the final policy recommendations. What strategies and synergies we have been working on is, you can see them here in very, very simple statements. First, it's very important the active participation of stakeholders that are involved in the area of frailty and at large the demographic change. We have also to maximize resources building on previous work and evidence, as I said before. We have also very important to translate this evidence into policy action. This is mainly the work that we are developing in this year. And very important also to create this mass of stakeholders that will support our actions is to create awareness and to disseminate the results. And another strategy that we have been building on is to have external expertise from different areas of related with frailty, chronic diseases, and aging in general to improve and validate our reports. Sorry. So what are we doing at large? Working on prevention by first analysis, so understanding the frailty concept and what is frailty and framing the concept with the different definitions and different approaches that there are in the scientific arena. We are working on intervention that has to do with prevention, diagnosis, treatment, all the clinical pathways, and the service reorganization. And the third area is the implementing the results. So awareness, we have to work at national structures and plans to put these strategies and policies in place. We're working also on the needs of capacity building in the workforce, and we have also to take into account the facilitators and the barriers to this change that is needed. All of these three areas of work will finish in this frailty prevention approach at the European level. I will go now very quickly through the three different pillars or areas of information that we are using. The first of all is the state of art in frailty. This is a report on an overview of evidence of what really works and what is unknown in terms of frailty prevention and management, and it is considered an updated theoretical basis to inform our subsequent work. This was released in 2007, so last year, and is available in the website of the project. The second source of information is the Member State survey on background situation in relation to the prevention and management of frailty. This was a survey that was done from September last year to May this year, and with a specific questionnaire that we developed within the partners. We collected information for the different approaches that are taking place to address frailty in the participant member states. The idea is that we have to collect information about frailty in each member state, what is currently happening. It's like a snapshot of what is currently happening, in opposition to the state of the art, which will be the evidence, what is theoretically needed to be done. This survey really puts and gives us a picture of what actually is happening, although of course limited because of the time constraints and the questionnaires that were, not in a very big sample, but it gives us a proxy of what is happening in the member states.
Ines, you have 5 more minutes.
Okay, thank you. With these two documents, we are now developing the frailty prevention approach that will be provide guidance on how to strengthen the national or regional capacities to set up or develop the frailty prevention policy in the participant countries. I don't have the time, so this is just to summarize what we have been doing. So from scientific evidence, that is the state of the art, plus the member state survey, because of this information analysis and internal discussion within the partners and all the groups, we are drafting the draft, the FPA draft that will be presented in Madrid in a meeting with all the stakeholders. This is happening on the 13th of December this year. And in the end, it will be, we will be discussing on how policy makers and organization managers in general can really use the advantage recommendations to address frailty at European level. We are also discussing about the role the different stakeholders have to take to support this implementation, and also about how we have to take into account the political, the social, the professional context to really succeed in this endeavor. Key messages just to finish. Well, really the demographic aging is a serious challenge that Europe is currently facing, and Advantage is contributing to address this challenge. The older people are at risk of becoming frail and developing disability. This is our main area of interest, disability caused by frailty. We are multimorbidity, disability, and frailty are very much interrelated, but are clinical entities, and we really have to distinguish them, and we have to address frailty in a different way. It is a rather common entity. About 1 in over 10 persons aged 65 are frail in Europe. And what is the good news is that it's potentially reversible condition, especially in its early stages. sometimes spontaneously, but sometimes because of the certain interventions that we can easily do, like a physical activity or a specific diet, etc. Advantage has a series of recommendations of how we have to screen it and how we have to diagnose, and we can go there after that in the question section. And we also have to really adapt the healthcare and social system to manage frailty in a more adequate way. And just to finish, well, what really is the philosophy, let's say, behind all what we are doing. We have to base our actions on evidence, but we have to focus on people, and we have to work with people, with the aged people. So it's represented here in the slides by these two images. One, the demographic pyramid that really remembers us of this demographic change and older people. And on the other side of the slide is older people who have their own stories, their own lives, and we really have to focus on them to make the success of this policy towards a frailty-free Europe. So thank you very much. I will just leave it here, and we can have some questions if you want to. I am prepared to respond to you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ines. So as stated in the agenda, now we will switch to EU FrailSafe. Kostas, if you are ready for your presentation, we will start with you now in 2 seconds.
Can you see my screen? Hello?
Hello, Kostas? No. Ines?
Yes, I have to take mine, no? Out.
No, it's okay. I will mute you now, Ines, if you don't mind. And
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Kostas, we see now your screen. Can you make the full view? Yes. Thank you. Let's go.
Okay. Good morning from me as well. My name is Konstantinos Deltouzos, and I will present you the FrailSafe system, which was designed to better assess frailty among older people. Allow me 2 minutes in the beginning to clarify what is frailty and what is not. Frailty is not a disease. It is rather a syndrome related to the loss of physiological reserve of older people, making them vulnerable to stressors. This image will help us understand a lot of things about frailty. So a stressor can be something that affects our health, such as a flu or an infection. You can see here that the effect on a fit old person is minimal, and after a short period of time, he or she returns to the previous state. Whereas for the frail old person, the effect is much bigger. The person loses his independence. The time needed to recover is longer, and you can see that he reaches a level of less functional abilities than he was before. We can say that frailty is common to 25 to 50% of people over 80 years. It is progressive with episodic deterioration. It impacts the quality of life of the older person. It is expensive for the healthcare system, but it has some preventable components. The physiological reserve of each person is affected by many domains, such as the locomotion, the cognition, the physiological, and so on. So when we want to assess frailty, we need to take into account all of these domains. The typical way that frailty is being assessed today is by doing a comprehensive geriatric assessment. This is done usually in clinical settings. We consider it to be a single-shot evaluation, as it is examined at a specific moment, and the clinician needs to make an assessment based on a limited data available. In our project, we monitor people in their natural environment, we collect longitudinal data, and we perform big data analysis to assist us in the frailty assessment. We have a number of tools and devices that the older people use in order to collect data and assess his or her health. Among these, we have a smart garden garment developed by our partner SmartX. We have devices available in the market, such as blood pressure monitors, mobilographs, dynamometers, scales. We obtain medical data by questionnaires. And finally, we have smartphones and tablets. I will present you now a part of the equipment that we use. The smart garment has ECG and respiration sensors that allow us to have continuous recording of heart rate and breathing rate of the older person. On the right, you can see an old lady wearing this smart garment. It also has IMU sensors that help us collect data about the movement and the posture of the older patient, such if the person is sitting or standing, lying, walking, or climbing the stairs. Using this garment, we can collect meaningful clinical measurements for the older patient, but also we can check for irregularities such as arrhythmia, and also identify dangerous events such as falls or instability. Here I will present you a video where you will see the fall detection algorithm developed during our project that runs on a smartphone and uses signals of the smart garment. On the left side of the video, you see a person wearing this garment and moving around in the room, while on the right side, you see the screen of the smartphone. While the person is moving, you can see the measurements of the IMU sensors being transmitting real-time to the phone. The algorithm assesses if the person is performing any of the activities of daily living, such as sitting, standing, or if he has fallen. On the right screen, you can see ADL or fall. Fall indicates that there is a fall, ADL, all the other movements. So when a fall is identified, an alert is being generated and sent to the appropriate recipients, such as family members or caregivers. You can see that the algorithm is not confused by movements such as high acceleration on walking down or up the stairs or picking up an object, and only identifies falls in order to send the alert. Also, we have developed smartphone applications that can monitor the indoors and outdoor movements of a person. This helps us understand the behavior and lifestyle of other people, e.g. how much they're moving outside, how social they are, etc. Also, by analyzing this data, we might identify signs of loss of orientation. For example, on the bottom right screen, you can see a map of the movement of one older person. And if we see that the older person is wandering, making circles around a point, or visits a place outside the designated area, we can make an alert that the person is lost. In the project, we have developed a number of serious games that can collect data for the older people about their cognitive and physiological domains. They can be about memory, concentration, strength, endurance, and so on. Javi Montesa afterwards will explain you the games in detail. What is important to state here is that the value of the games is that they allow us to collect data about the older patient in an unobtrusive and fun way. And also that through the games, we can apply personalized intervention to the older people in order to train their skills at home. Such as we can advise them to play a cognitive game to train their memory. All the data being collected by the devices and medical questionnaires are being saved in the cloud, creating for each older patient a virtual patient model. These data are being augmented by big data analysis. The clinician can monitor each person by visiting its virtual patient model and can design appropriate intervention for him or her. These interventions are being given to the older patient as guidelines that he can follow. Finally, one last FrailSafe component that was mentioning is a dashboard that visualizes this virtual patient model data. The older patient can see his or her measurements, but also alerts and interventions. There are also panels for clinicians and researchers containing summaries of profiles of older people. The dashboard for older people presents in a visual way all data stored for this person. The panel has been divided in different domains, as you can see, such as clinical, physiological, behavioral, and so on. And there is a general overview for each person. In the overview of the person, we can have a summary of the status on the domains that further need attention. Such as here, we can see that in the physiological domain, psychological domain, the person is not doing very well. Also, we can see how the older person is performing in comparison with all other users on this spider chart. This dashboard is under fine-tuning, and the final version will be ready at the end of this month. Additionally, in the dashboard, there are the recommendations that are provided by the system. As an example here, we see a recommendation generated when the older people shows cognitive function that is close to the cut of frailty and is suggested to play a cognitive game. For the clinicians or medical professionals, they can see the individual older person's measurements in a nice and graphical way. But also, they can combine the measurements of a group of older people and see how the whole population is performing. Finally, there is a panel for alerts and customization, and they can see the rules and they can even edit them. The dashboard for researcher allows to split the older patient into groups based on values and view how the visualization of other attributes compare to each other of this group. Here on this screen, we can see the researcher has picked to see how the population of non-frail, pre-frail, and frail older people, according to the Fried, are divided according to the year of birth. There is another example, a graph visualization from the researcher web interface. Here we can see two cognitive scores, MOCA and MMSC, and they are combined to have this graph placement, while the Fried score is used to color the nodes. The researcher can try different combinations of attributes to use for constructing the graph and different coloring attributes in order to explore the available data and discover interesting patterns. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Kostas. If you have questions, don't hesitate to write them down in the chat box. We'll come back to it later after Javi's presentation. Javi, if you are ready, we will come to your presentation.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me and can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So, yes, I'm Javier Montesa. I work for Brainstorm, and in FrailSafe we have been taking care of the games, of the development of the games that we are using in the project. And that's my plan. My plan is to explain you the games we have been developing, why we selected these games, and how they work. What can they do? So, in order to select the games we wanted to develop, first thing we did was to analyze the kind of abilities that are related to frailty. And we found that most of them were cognitive, and short-term memory, visual and spatial ability, processing speeds, all this stuff, and also some others physical, strength, endurance, and balance. So our idea was to select a set of games capable to treat with all these abilities. Okay. So we will go through all of them, but mostly they are here. We have the Force Analyzer, Red Wings, they weigh all these games, and here we have which abilities are related to them. Why we say that they are related to them? Well, it's not. We don't have any scientific study about it, but we think, and we selected them because clearly they are somehow connected to these abilities. It would be a long of work if we needed to clearly state that they are really related. But anyhow, you will see that no matter if we are failing in one of these criterion or not, the games will have their output. We'll see. So these are the games. We have here all the games that we prepare with the abilities and everything. These are all the games. I will go through them right now. And well, let's see. First one is not a game. It's just the force analyzer. It is running in a tablet, and it is connected to what we call the dynamometer. It's something that you grasp with your hand, and the more you press, the higher the value you get from the tablet. So in here, you just have you press on the dynamometer, you get your value, and you can press many times. You can do it a lot of times, and you have your maximum and the endurance. The endurance is related to the maximum force you can apply and the time you can keep it there. So there are two important measures in this system. Here you could see, as you are pressing, you can see the force you're applying, and every time you release and you start again, you have here the endurance. Okay. So this the force analyzer, among all the abilities we are working with, the force analyzer, which is not a game in fact, is connected to strength and endurance. Okay. Next game is memory. Probably you know this one is about taking two stones and trying to find the pairs. Which one has the rabbits? The two stones with the rabbit, the two stones with the snake, and then trying to find them. Let me show you more or less how this game is. I guess you can see it. So you are tapping on the screen and you are just trying to find all the pairs here. Okay. Let's go further. Sorry. So this one we said, okay, it is mostly connected with working memory. It's also connected to visual and spatial ability, also connected to sequencing. So of course, it is not connected to strength or endurance, or it is not connected with processing speed. So each game has its own let's say, profile. Okay. This one railway is probably the most complex we have been developing. It was intended to be used with the vest Costas was talking about. So as you tilt your body, you control the guy in this rail carriage or whatever you call it. This is one of the earliest videos we were preparing. So you can control the body of the avatar with your body. If you don't have the vest, still you can use the tablet, tilting it, and with your fingers you can raise your hands. Okay. I'm trying to be fast, so let's go to the next one. We have many. So this one, for example, is more connected with processing speed, also with anticipation, because you need to see what is coming and reacting time, motor skills, not related to strength or endurance. So again, one more profile. The idea with the games is trying to achieve, let's say, measure everything related to every ability. Okay. Next one, Red Wings. In this one, you are controlling this plane, and this time you are using the dynamometer. How it works? Let's see it. So in here, while you press, the plane goes up, and if you release it, it just glides. And you have to avoid all the obstacles and try to reach a high distance. In here, of course, we will see it later. Depending on the virtual patient model and how you perform in different sessions, the difficulty changes. And for example, maybe you will need to press more. Depending on the user, they need to press more or less. Those that are a little bit more weaker, they just with a small force, they can control the plane. Those that are stronger, they need to apply more force. Okay. More stuff. Sorry. This one is reflex. In this one, you have a pine, and there are some pine apples, I think. Well, these pines, they grow, and you need to click on them before they go too much. If they go too much, they fall, and you are missing the pine. Okay, I'm not sure if we have. Yeah, we have also. So as you see, they are. If you fail to click on them, then you lose the pine. Okay, this time the guy is failing all of them, probably because. Okay. So this is the game, and you have to click on them. Okay. Again. Again, we have the profile for this game: anticipation, motor skills, visual and spatial ability. This is the most important ones here. The Simon, probably you know the Simon game is about sequencing. You need to remember songs and buttons and colors. I don't know. Yes, for this one I have, for example, the first level is just to trees, and then you have to do exactly the same. You have to repeat it. The games are nice, not really complex, but probably the most important feature here is that we are recording everything that happens. We'll see later. So again, the profile, the virtual supermarket is simulating a supermarket, and you go through it and you buy things, and let's say you have your buying list, what you have to buy and the different things you have to do. So you need to perform there and to do you need to buy everything you need, okay, in the list. We have 2 more games, but I don't have the pictures, so I won't go through them. Again, one more profile, and if we add up all the profiles we have in all the games I've been showing, I've been displaying, we are covering almost all of the abilities we wanted to cover. Okay, if you see on the upper side, we have more the cognitive abilities, and on the lower side we have more the physical abilities. Okay, and in the middle, those that are in the middle. So these are the games, and what do we do with them? I mean, are we improving your frailty state? We don't know. Probably not. We don't know if these games are helping you improving your status. But what we can do is probably check how you perform in these games, how you perform in different ways that we relate to abilities, and maybe we can find strange situations and we can check what's happening. First thing I want to talk about is what we call the dynamic adaptability. As I said before, these games adapt to the users, and depending on the user's capabilities, the games adapt, because in some cases, and mostly in this with this kind of users, some of them are really capable to do a lot of strength, or they can go very fast, and some others are really weak. And the system is trying to work with all of them. What it does, at the beginning, it connects to the virtual patient model, which the one that Kostas was explaining before, and taking into account the profile of the user, starts using every game session is connected to this virtual patient model. But as you play more and more, the system is getting the information from your sessions and adapts to you. For example, in this case, the number of stones in the memory game, the one with the stones that you have to select, changes. Every time that you play, it changes. And how it changes? For example, it is connected in a 30% of the value is connected to the Simon game. So depending on the mean sequence you can achieve in the Simon game, then the memory game changes. Then 50% of the complexity comes from the memory. In fact, from the last number of hits you made in the last session of memory, or maybe 20% is connected to the mean game hits. When I'm talking of hits, I'm talking about we are talking of memory, the number of stones that you are capable to be successful with. Okay. So this is more or less, this is one of the parameters in one game that we are adapting every time we play, but we have many parameters. So this is a first table we are working with. We have here all the parameters we get from every session, and we have here all the parameters that we are modifying. And as you see, sometimes these parameters from Reflex, it is connected to some behaviors you have in other games. So this table more or less is explaining how all the stuff we are taking from different sessions affects to the games, okay? But then, so in order to do all this stuff, what we need is to record what's happening. In fact, every user before playing logs in the system, so the system knows who is playing, and then it's recording everything that happens. And we do it in two ways. First thing, we record frame by frame, second by second, what's happening in the game. In fact, we could even replay a game if we wanted. So the idea here is if we need to go back and check a session and check what happened, it is possible because everything is recorded. And if you see here, we have the user per frame. We have the user, the day, the time, the frame, the force he's applying. This is the red wings, the distance achieved, the height of the plane, the lives, and the speed you are achieving at this very moment. Then when the session finishes, we have the overall scores. And the overall score is the maximum force, the scores you got, and the endurance, and the duration, the time you were able to keep playing. So in fact, from every game, we have both things, the game that you can replay with all the data there, and also the final scores. We upload this to the system in order to use it next time that you play the game, and also for the clinical professionals to check how someone is performing. Let's say that maybe you can see on the charts, based on the DSS, on the decision support system, you can see, for example, that someone is performing really well, and somehow, for some reason, it drops. And at some point, one of the games he's not, or her, or she is not performing so well anymore. Maybe it's just an error from the game or from the dynamometer or whatever, but maybe you can go there and check, see what's happening, and maybe you will find interesting situations, okay? So this is what I was saying. We are storing every frame what's the behavior, and finally, when the session ends, we store the final, the overall values. And if I'm right, yeah, this was the last slide. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Javi. So we had one question from Andrew. I don't know if it's your first name or Mandy is your first name, sorry. So we're talking about the user experience. How in FrailSafe the user experience was taken into account to improve, I suppose, what we developed. Kostas or Javi, do you want to interact?
Well, now that I'm talking now. In fact, in our case, for example, as soon as we started using the games, we were delivering some tests to the final users and also to the clinicians in order to check what they thought about the games, about how they work, if they are difficult, if they were somehow long tests, maybe 20 questions. So based on these questionnaires, we improved the games, not just the ones that they were already using, but the ones coming. So this has been the way to do that in our case in the games. But of course, Kostas is plenty of other stuff we have here.
Can you hear me? I mute the phone.
Yes.
Okay. Also, for the rest of the equipment used in the FrailSafe, it was being used for a long period. So we were getting constant feedback from the 3 clinical sites, from Cyprus, Greece, and France. And we took this into account into preparing next versions and final versions. So both, for example, the vest that was designed had some flaws, it was uncomfortable for some people. So it was redesigned with a different zip, with a different way of wearing, and also all the applications that were used. We took into account, again, all feedback from people in order to make them more usable.
Thank you, Kostas. We have a question from Moriak, asking if we have, well, FrailSafe has tested the system on people with dementia. I see that we have a medical partner with us, Sotriya, who is not a speaker, but I see her connected. And let's see if she is able to reply to our question. Sotriya, do you hear me?
Yes, no.
Yeah.
Hello. Good morning.
Could you? I'm not sure we tested it on people with dementia, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, we haven't tested it in the FrailSafe project.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yes. So I cannot answer that. But hopefully, I would be interested to also to see the results. I think that it could work with people with mild neurocognitive disorder, which means that it could work with people who are in the early stages of dementia, because they could understand the rules of each game. But it would be interesting to see if it would work.
Okay. So Moriak, yeah, we haven't tested on people with dementia.
No, if I can add something, in the FrailSafe study, we had some inclusion criteria for people that will take part on the study, and people that had dementia or some more serious condition were not recruited. So that is why we haven't tested on them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If there are more questions, don't hesitate to put that on the chat box. We have still 13 minutes to discuss with the speakers. Marta is asking in which methods you measure the progress in cognitive and physical state of the people who play the Frail game. What tools do you recommend for measure for the progress?
Okay, I think this is for me. Yes, what we do by now is fairly simple. What we do is trying to measure everything that you can see. Sorry? Okay. That you can see happening in the game, and we are analyzing what happened and provide global scores on the game. And what we are doing is we are not trying from the game. We are not trying to say, okay, this game is providing this ability is increasing a lot, or this one is not. What we do is just saying what happened. So saying, okay, the maximum distance we did was this one. The maximum force or the endurance, the way you measure it, that's there. But we are not, let's say, analyzing it and saying what's happening. Once you have all this stuff, we upload it to the system, and the DSS, in fact, is the one analyzing it and trying to understand what's happening. I know that, and Costas will help here. They are now analyzing and taking statistics on how things are going and trying to extract this more elaborated information from the games. So I don't know, Costas, if you can help here about how we do this stuff.
Okay, I will try to add some more information. So about checking the progress of one person, it's not only the games, it's also about the medical tests that he's doing or physiological parameters that we are collecting from other devices. So we see how the person is evolving through time, and we see if he's declining and how fast he's declining. And then this has been taken into account into the risk assessment of the person, and also in order to provide him some interventions and some recommendations to help him age better, let's say. So if we see some person's cognitive decline is reducing, either by a clinical score or by his ability to play one game, then there is an alert generated that this person's cognitive ability is reducing by time, and then the clinician can decide on what to do with this information.
Yeah, yes, I would like to add something here. It's clearly, I mean, I won't say that it would be scientific to say, okay, the output of these games is clearly connected to frailty or to disabilities. Maybe it's not connected, or we don't already know. We don't already know how it is connected. We are fairly confident. We think that it is clearly connected. But if we wanted to know it, a lot of really deep studies should be done with a lot of people, and probably would be subject for a whole project. But I would say that clearly, if someone is playing with the games and at some point he's starting to score or C is starting to score less and less, or suddenly it drops a lot, we could say that clearly something is happening there. Maybe not connected directly to, I don't know, to short-term memory. Maybe the cost was different. But the good thing is what Costa said. What we do is raising an alert, and then the clinician can go and check what was happening. So you can have a lot of people playing every day, and then probably you will have plenty of alerts, or you can check exactly how someone is doing. Okay, you are not really seeing the different abilities, but you are seeing a different thing that we think probably they are connected to abilities, but we don't need them to be really connected, because if they change, clearly something is happening there, and we think that it's a good tool. I don't know if I explained myself.
Yeah, thanks, Javi. We have another question. Do we consider to adapt the games to people with, for example, sight problems or hands movement problems? I suppose at a later stage.
Well, sometimes many times when you are developing things, sometimes it's easier to develop a new game really focused to the problem you are wanted to work with. Maybe in this case, I would say that the Red Wings and the Railway, they could be adapted. We are not thinking on it by now. We don't have the plan to, but maybe it's a good idea.
Okay, good. I have a question for you. I think it's an issue that everybody thinks about it. What about the privacy of data? How did FrailSafe consider the issue of GDPR and so on?
Costas, you or me?
Okay, I can answer. Of course, GDPR is something that is affecting not only our project, but our daily life, everybody's life. So during this project, we took into account early this problem. The thing about keeping everything private. So before even the GDPR was enforced by European Union, we had anonymized all data that are being collected and saved in our cloud. So example, a Javi that is creating the log files for each user doesn't know from which user they come from. And then they go to the cloud and they are being aggregated with all people's data. Still, we have no idea whose data it is. We just have numbers that are participant ID numbers, but we have no idea who the person is, and we don't want to know. So using this way of anonymizing the data, we are keeping the privacy of people that are using our devices, and there is no chance of leaking somebody's information.
Thanks.
I think I answered the question.
Yeah, I think so.
If you want to add something, Javi? No.
Yes, maybe. Well, one of our partners, Grupo Sigla in Italy, in fact, they took good care of this. They have been working, I don't know how many pesos a month they dedicated to this issue, to security. And in fact, it has been a lot of work to be sure that everything was encrypted. The users are not, the name of the users is not there. So we have taken a lot of care on this. Mm.
So we have another question now. Would we recommend to use the FrailSafe tool in public health services for preventive purposes? Would this be feasible in terms of costs?
Me, Costas? Well, personally, yes, I think that it would be helping. In fact, the whole project has been designed in order to help that way. So it would be, let's say, it's our goal in the project. From my personal point of view, yes, it would work. But of course, once you finish a European project, you are usually far from the product. I mean, if you want to sell it, still many things need to be done. And probably when the project will finish, if there is interest on it, we'll need to work more on it.
I agree with Javi. We are not close to making a tool and a system that will be ready for the market, but our aim is this: to early detect the signs of frailty and then help people to age better. And by doing so, it will save money from the healthcare system. That was one of the aims of the project.
Thanks. Another question from us. How about the acceptance, the engagement of users for the applied games? How were users reacting towards the game?
Well, we need to prepare many more questionnaires about the rest of the games. We have I think that the last time we had a questionnaire was like 1 year ago, maybe less, and they say they are very happy and they are using it. I can tell you that we have around 3,000 sessions. So we have three user partners dealing with final users, with persons using the system, and we are receiving every day. Every time someone plays a game, everything is uploaded to the system, and we can see. In fact, every Monday we prepare a log and we send it to the consortium, just for everybody to know how many sessions are being played in which games, because that way we can try to push users in order to ask them to use more some games or some others, because they like more some games than others. That's clear. For example, the Red Wings, they like it a lot. What I can say is that in more or less 1 year, in 12 months, we have got like 3,000 and some sessions. So that means they like it.
Okay, thanks.
And of course, we plan to prepare more questionnaires. Once they play a little bit more with the games, we plan more questionnaires to ask them what they like, what they dislike, what is easy, what is difficult. All this stuff is important for us.
Great. I have a question for Ines. You still with us, Ines?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Hi, Ines. A lot of attention is on the system. You were talking about how to raise awareness on frailty, how to make it a priority among member states. How does Advantage GA plan to do that? What are the actions or initiatives that you plan to do when you have this final policy framework?
Okay. Well, creating awareness is there from the beginning, so it's not something that we will just leave for the last phase of the project, but we are trying to incorporate this awareness campaign or actions through the whole project. So at different member states, we are having the stakeholders meeting, trying to inform about why frailty is important and what is the consequences of frailty for individuals and for the carers, also for the society at large. We are also focusing on explaining what Advantage is trying to do. Well, I don't have the figures with me now, but I can tell you that, for instance, in Spain, we have done already 2 different stakeholders meeting with attending around 60 people in each of these sessions, one for last year and one for this year. I know that in many other member states, they are also having this kind of meetings also. And then we are also trying to contribute in different seminars or, well, for instance, this could be taken as an example. It's a way of creating awareness about what we are doing. And we are also having some publications in different peer review magazines. So this is the sort of things that we are doing. Plus, of course, we have one of the work package work package 2 is about dissemination and creating awareness. So we have a specific group of partners working in this line, and we have produced a newsletter that comes out regularly in a 6-month basis We have also the layman report, which tries to explain what we are doing and the results of what we are doing in a much more, let's say, friendly layout. And we will also have this conference in Madrid that we were talking before, the following on the 13th of Madrid. So different ways of creating awareness to the three main groups of stakeholders that I mentioned before.
Okay.
And of course, the website is one of the important tools also that we are using. So trying to put there, updated information, and we keep trying to make it a more friendly user and having interesting news there that can create awareness.
Mm-hmm. And the material that you will produce, will it be available to the public, or how can we access the information?
Yeah. Yes, there's a number of documents that is publicly accessed in the website. You can visit the website and you can download the documents there. For instance, the state of the art, and then there are some other documents that are considered internal or intermediate documents and still are only available for the partners. For instance, this member state survey that I was referring before, it will be public in the near future, but still we are trying to fine tune it with the partners. So before we need, let's say, their approval to have this made public. So in the meantime, it's not available yet, but it will be in the near future. So most of the documents and all the products that we are releasing will be available. It's part of what we want to do, create this sensitization about the importance of frailty and make them available for whoever has to use them.
Great, thanks. We will wrap up soon, but we have two final questions. So one was regarding the previous question on the sessions that Javi was talking about. So there were 3,000 and so on sessions, but divided among how many participants? So that's one question. And the other last one is the system individualizing the interaction, meaning that are the games based on how good or how well the participant is doing, and does the system recommend to better use this game in order to improve one capacity or cognitive capacity?
Okay, for the second question first, we don't do that. We don't expect. We don't know if the games are improving your capacities. In fact, personally, I don't think they improve your capacities. I don't know if you know. Some games they were selling, it was from Nintendo. It was Brain Games, if I'm right, and they were saying in the TV that these games were improving your capacities. And at some point, a very deep study on American university, they said no, not at all. They do nothing. So my point is probably you are not improving your capacities. Maybe you are even improving using the game, but your capacity is still the same. So probably you are not improving, but still what we can do is check if you are doing this better or not. So for the second question, we don't say the user to play some games to improve anything because we don't know if they do. The other one, the amount of users, if I'm right, I'm not sure. So there is here probably she will help. If I'm right, there is like 20 or 30 people per center. Am I right?
Hello to everyone. We have 170 people as a total, but 27 belong to our control group. So I would have to say 145. The sessions are divided between 145 people as a total. And with regard to the games, this is something, yes, our study, if I may add, it's our aim actually to study if the games improve a person's cognitive capacity. But we are really optimistic about that. because several similar studies showed results both to normal subjects and dementia patients.
All right, I think now we are running out of time. I will thank all the speakers for their time and you, the participants, for taking the time to listen to them. If you have more questions and if you want to discuss further on with them, please drop us an email and we will liaise with anything you would like to discuss on. I repeat, the session was recorded and will be uploaded on the website. So if you want to share it to other to other of your colleagues or people you think might be interested in learning more about frailty and how to make it a priority at the EU level, please do share it. Thank you all, and you will hear from me soon with all the information. Thank you, Ines, Javi, and Costas, for your time.
Thank you to you for organizing, and thank you very much to the audience also.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.